Two IDF soldiers have been arrested by Israeli security over suspicion of spying for the Islamic Republic of Iran. Hezbollah and Hamas are making a move towards the Israeli border from the north and the south. And in this live stream, we're going to bring you guys a reaction from the father of one of the hostages who has been released in recent days. Welcome to 2C TV, your global news channel. I'm Maya 2C, and this is your latest news update from the Middle East this time. The reaction that we've had so far from the movement of Hezbollah members and also Hamas members. Obviously, the Hezbollah members are now going towards the south, the southern border of Lebanon, which, by the way, they're not allowed to. They were not supposed to, so this is in violation of the agreement they had with Israel. But the Gaza civilians and members of Hamas are making a move towards the northern parts of Gaza, which was actually permitted as part of the agreement with Israel. The only issue is that Hamas are not supposed to be regrouping. Technically, they are, obviously, but they're not supposed to. This was supposed to be for the civilians in Gaza to go back to the north of Gaza, which has been flattened anyway. But we have some footage and evidence showing that some of these so-called civilians are actually supporters of Hamas, which is, ooh, surprise. And obviously, we're going to talk about the IDF soldiers who've been arrested now, which is not the first time, unfortunately. But the intelligence services in Israel are being challenged massively. If you're watching this live, we're going to get your reaction as usual. Don't forget, we have published our new latest exclusive show on 2C TV Plus called Net Zero Lies, where we expose the agenda of the globalists. The only way you can watch that is if you go on 2C.tv, become a member of 2C TV Plus. It's different to YouTube memberships, obviously, and you will get 1 month free membership if you join on an annual subscription. Now, the two IDF soldiers that we are talking about in this video. One of them is Yuri Alyaspov, and the other one is Gregory Andreev. Now, these two have been members of the IDF, and the allegations are over espionage charges. Now, the investigation will continue by the intelligence and the security services, but it's a little bit concerning. Obviously, both sides have their own agents and assets, as in the Israeli side and, of course, the IRGC side in each other's countries. That's natural. The point of the game is that your intelligence services need to be robust enough to be able to identify the threat. Now, as we said, one of the main concerns is that because there is an ongoing conflict, a lot of people were expecting the intelligence, Mossad and the internal side of intelligence in Israel, to be able to keep an eye on everybody. But having said that, they have managed to, again, allegedly, identify these two suspects, which we don't know exactly how much damage they've done, although we do have some information which we can give you. Under an Iranian handler's guidance, these two have leaked sensitive air defense information, including a video of the Iron Dome system. Yuri, who aided the enemy during wartime, faces life imprisonment or death. Shockingly, he received just $3,500 for his actions, while Gregory got even less. Security officials warn that the leaked data in this situation, obviously, it poses a serious threat to Israel's defense system. So imagine doing espionage for $3,000. It's embarrassing. So they do have enough evidence, obviously, to go after these guys. So $3,500 for spying for Iran. I mean, what they have said is that this is the latest evidence they've found. So there might have been other payments in the past. We don't know for how long Yuri, for example, has been spying for Iran. But the Israelis have managed to find the evidence. Now, having said that, we do know that the Islamic Republic have had many of their own people, the IRGC members, defecting to the revolutionary side, to the normal Iranian people. We've had a lot of assets, Mossad assets, agents, who have been helping the Israeli side. I believe there could be a point to be made that Iran actually don't mind that these two have been caught. So they could brag about the fact that, see, we also have agents in Israel. So it's probably, and they've already done what they were supposed to be doing, allegedly, right? So for the Iranian regime, they could spin this when it comes to the PR side of it and say, well, we got what we wanted. We only paid him $3,000. It's nothing. And even though they've been caught, we can throw them under the bus now, and we can boast about the fact that we are so strong. We have spies inside the IDF. I think that's the only thing they can bank on right now. But we don't know how many other agents and assets that the Islamic Republic could have inside Israel, by the Israeli government and the Israeli state in general. Meanwhile, the Iranian regime obviously are slightly concerned about the return of President Trump, and they seem to be a little bit upset. This isn't supposed to be a strong statement. This is supposed to be a little bit desperate, because the Iranian regime have come out to say, an Iranian diplomat on behalf of the IRGC, saying that there has been zero contact with the United States since President Trump has returned to office. Usually the Iranian regime only releases statements to show strength, right? That we are in charge, that we don't care. But it seems like they're a little bit upset that the United States have not contacted them, obviously through the third parties, including Switzerland. Switzerland's role is to basically mediate between the Islamic Republic and the United States. And I think they are missing the attention, because with Joe Biden, they had someone in the White House, the Iranian regime, they had a friendly person in the White House who could make backroom deals. But with Trump, it's a little bit slightly different, obviously. Now, meanwhile, we have the situation with the hostages, obviously. More hostages will be released, should be released. And the father of one of them, Leary's father, has come out to give us some insight of what his daughter has been saying since she has been released from Gaza. And this is actually, it's not really a surprise, but it's important for people to know. So he said that Leary told me, "Dad, do not be mistaken. There are 2 million terrorists there," as in Gaza. "I sat with 8 and 4-year-old children who were cursing the Jews." And I did say, in reaction to this, as I say, it's not really a surprise, I did say the problem in Gaza is not just Hamas. It is hateful anti-Semitism amongst the whole society in Gaza, but also in Judea and Samaria, or the West Bank. You have to fix that part, which is a deeply cultural issue. It's not just about, you're not just dealing with a military of a foreign force that hates you as a country. It's not like Ukraine and Russia, for example, or any other, even in this situation with the North Korea and South Korea. People think the North Korea and South Korea issue is still deeply ideological. It's no longer ideological, because the Kim family, they're just tyrants. And at this point, it's just about warmongering nonsense. Whereas this issue, when it comes to the anti-Semitism issue, it's deeply philosophical, and not in a good way, and cultural. So you can't just say, well, if we eliminate a few Hamas soldiers, militants, then everything's going to be fine. It's not going to be fine, because they've been brainwashing kids from early days. And not just in Gaza, but also Judea and Samaria. Now, if you want to see the problem, that is not just about members of the armed forces of Gaza, or in Lebanon, obviously, when it comes to Hezbollah, or the IRGC, let me show you what's going on in Qatar. Yesterday, at a football match in a Qatari stadium, we had Tunisian fans and Qatari fans doing a massive banner picture of Yahya Sinwar to praise him. See? That's, by the way, in Qatar, the state of Qatar is supposed to be the mediator between Hamas and Israel. I mean, it's all nonsense, but that is the case. Now, as we said, the people from the Hezbollah side are moving towards the south, southern parts of Lebanon, towards the Israeli border, which they're not supposed to, but we do have evidence. There's also live footage on social media showing this. It's a little bit concerning, because we have spotted Lebanese military among the crowd escorting, but you have Hezbollah members with Hezbollah flags. They're not supposed to, but again, that's the reality of the situation. These people are back. They're going to regroup towards the southern parts of Lebanon. Watch this. So this is in violation of the arrangement that they already have with the State of Israel. Meanwhile, the Gazans are going towards the northern parts of Gaza. That is part of the agreement with Israel. But the problem we have is that this was supposed to be for the so-called innocent civilians in Gaza to go back up towards the northern parts of Gaza to rebuild their neighborhoods, right? So that they don't have to live in tents or wherever they are. The point was to make sure we keep an eye on Hamas supporters and members. Seems like it's very difficult, again, it's not a surprise, very difficult to identify between a non-Hamas Palestinian and a pro-Hamas Palestinian. They're all celebrating. This woman and the children, everybody else, are thanking the Hamas so-called soldiers who are there, thanking them and supporting them, and they're all going towards the north.
الله يعطيكم العافية الله يعطيكم العافية وفيتوا وكفيتوا واحنا معاكم بروحنا بأموالنا انا باسمي شهيد قدمت مناسي وحنقدمهم كلهم في الوطن.
Now, let's not be mistaken. There have definitely been Gazans who do not support Hamas. There are not many of them left, because even since October 2023, Hamas have been eliminating them. While they've been trying to fight against, the Islamists have been fighting against the IDF, they've also been fighting against their own people who have not been supporting them. So there are not many Palestinians left who don't really support Hamas. And that's why it's very difficult to identify when you look at someone from Gaza, are they actually supporters of Hamas or not? It does become a very problematic issue. And you do have to address the issue. You can't just go around saying, well, the civilians are different to Hamas. Well, how do you know? Because even the members of Hamas, they still wear normal plain clothing. It's not like they're going around with official government badges. They are cowards. They cover their faces and they wear normal clothing. Obviously, when there is a ceasefire, they get brave and confident enough to wear their uniforms. But on a daily basis, they're still going around looking like normal people. So you have to address the issue. What do you mean by defeating Hamas in Gaza? What does that actually mean? Is it just those who are wearing the uniform right now? Because if they go, there are enough other so-called Palestinians who could replace them. Now, if you can manage to go and identify a few of the Palestinians who don't support Hamas, and as I said, there have definitely been those people, most of them have been already eliminated by Hamas, then it will be great. Then you can help them, but you have to make sure that they don't support Hamas. It's a very big problem that is not being addressed by the United Nations, by the mediators, whether it's Egypt or Qatar. And obviously, President Trump is still pushing for the idea of relocating the Gazans to Jordan and Egypt. Now, obviously, the Egyptians and the Jordanians are not too happy about their idea. One of the main reasons is the Arab world don't want the Palestinians in their countries. One of the main reasons the Arab world have been in favor of the Palestinian state is that so Palestinians could stay in the Palestinian state. They don't want them in their countries because they cause trouble. They're not necessarily the believers of the Arab Palestine. The Arab world just don't want the Palestinians in their countries. They're like, just give them a state, give them a state. That's the point of it. They've been kicking them out. The whole point of these, the so-called Arabs in the Palestinian territories is, for the past 100 years or more than 100 years, is that they were moved. They were not from there. They were moved from other parts, in North Africa and the other parts of the Middle East. They pushed them there, the Ottoman Empire, last minute, and also in the 60s, in the 1960s, they brought in more Arabs and also they're not actually Arabs anyway. Let's not forget, they're Islamic, but they're not actually Arabs. They were not Arabs in the first place. If you say the actual Arab world are Arabs, as in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and those places, and Syria, technically. These people are mostly from North Africa, Egypt, those places. So, and we have to talk about the origins and obviously the cultural issues. I wonder what you guys are thinking. Some reaction in the live chat already saying Yuri is a Russian name. It is, yep. And there has been a question over whether some of the Russian immigrants are really Jewish. So, I mean, there are a lot of Russian Jews, obviously, in Israel, and they're not necessarily all immigrants. They're born there. But, yeah, there have been a lot of issues around that debate in general. I agree. Pity that the Christians of Lebanon lack the strength to retake control. Christians were the majority once, and not that long ago. I mean, let's not forget that the leadership of Lebanon is still Christian, right? Technically speaking. And the person in charge, but they are definitely weak and feeble. We do know that, and they also have this issue because the compromise that they made with Hezbollah is, as long as Hezbollah stay around the southern parts of Lebanon, they basically don't mind. I mean, the southern parts of Lebanon is still part of Lebanon, you idiots. Take back control of your country. It's not worth it. The problem is nobody wants the Hezbollah members. Like, with the so-called Palestinians in Gaza, for example, there are a lot of debates. Or in Judea, Samaria, I'll send them back to Jordan, for example. Or give them a small state of Palestine. I mean, not right now, we can't really have a debate about two-state solution, but theoretically, a debate about two-state solution, give a small chunk. That was supposed to be for them since 1948, done. Gazans, a lot of them should belong to Egypt anyway. But when it comes to the Hezbollah members and supporters in Lebanon, there is no argument where they should go. So what are they going to do? Are you going to send most of them back to Syria? Because Syria don't want Hezbollah. Syria, the Syrian leadership is currently Sunni. They do not like the Shias. They do not like Hezbollah members. Lebanon technically don't want them, but they're not strong enough to kick them out. Anga says Lebanese Christians have been fleeing to Australia for decades. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are also in Europe. I do feel sorry for, obviously, the good Lebanese people who've been infiltrated all these years. Faris says no Arab countries want Palestinians. Yep. They don't want to suffer like the UK. They are Hamas supporters, all of them. As I say, it's very difficult to identify the difference between pro-Hamas and anti-Hamas ones. But let's not forget those who are also not pro-Hamas, and especially in Judea and Samaria, including people like Mahmoud Abbas. They might not be in favor of Hamas as a branding, as a logo, but they're in favor of other parts, other versions of jihad. So it's not like they are liberal. They have a different version of jihad as opposed to Hamas. But also, let's not forget this week and today we will be talking about the Holocaust, International Holocaust Memorial Day. So there has been some weird things happening. We will be talking about the Republic of Ireland. Now, all you lovely people watching from Ireland right now, your leadership, your government, I mean, we can't really speak from the United Kingdom. We have terrible leadership, but the Irish president is a little bit cuckoo. And we will be talking about him. We will be exposing him later on this channel when it comes to his anti-Semitic speech, anti-Israeli speech at the Holocaust Memorial Day. We will talk about that. Super chat from Stu. Thank you, Stu. Saying breaking. Snickers set to sponsor Gaza as both are packed full of nuts. Brilliant. I am an Arab from Kuwait. I love Kuwait. Good country. The Palestinians helped invade my country in the 1990 with Saddam. Yeah, let's not forget. Individuals like Saddam Hussein, when it suits them, at the time obviously, they pick the Sunni side. When it suits them, they pick the Shia side. Obviously, when it comes to the Palestinian side, it was a bit of a mix. But Saddam caused a lot of chaos. Let's not forget about the situation with the Persian Gulf War, which people in the West call it the Gulf War. It's the Persian Gulf War. Can't change the name of the Gulf. And he caused a lot of chaos. And a lot of people in Kuwait suffered because of it. A lot of people in the Arab world in general have been suffering for a long time. In recent times, we are seeing the rise of good leadership, whether it's UAE, whether it's partly Bahrain, Kuwait. Saudi Arabia is by force changing, obviously, because I have to obviously oppose the IRGC and all the others, and the state of Qatar, the puppets of Iran. So things, there are definitely hopeful signs when it comes to the Middle East. With the return of President Trump, we can see more positive signs, but it's not easy. There is going to be a massive backlash. You have the new Syria to deal with. You still have the IRGC to deal with. You have to have the issue with Turkey. Let's not forget Turkey is a big problem right now in the whole region and in the whole world. We have to address those issues. Otherwise, what's the alternative? You're going to send the Western forces, the globalist idiots from America and the UK to go and cause trouble in the Middle East? No, stop doing that. The 20th century policy did not work. You caused more chaos than you actually helped. British Stan is in the live chat. Thank you, saying, and never gave a super chat. So here goes. What is Dan doing? It's obviously British Stan is Dan, who does our 10 a.m. UK time morning shows. Hi, Dan. Good show this morning, by the way. And guys, go subscribe to British Stan, Dan's channel. That's separate, obviously, to this. Thank you for that. Peter says, but honestly, if you read the Bible, there is no Palestine. Of course, there was no Palestine. It's all referred to as a Judea, so whatever historical claim they have should be rejected. The point of the word Palestine, well, we know the origins. The word Palestine, Palestine, or Philistines was from the Roman Empire, but in recent times, as in 19th century, 20th century, the word Palestine was not ever a state. It was just the land, the territory that belonged to the Islamic Empire, well, the Ottoman Empire, and also then the British Empire. And you basically had a bunch of Jews and Christians and a few Muslims living there with no structure. There was no organization, no real country. And the Jews were still there all this time. A lot of them were kicked out, obviously, throughout the centuries. And up to a point where the newspaper headlines in the mid-20th century was, when the conflict started, they were saying, they used the word Palestine because it was the name of the territory, right? And they said, the Muslim Arabs have invaded Palestine. That was the situation in the 50s onwards. Suddenly, since the 60s, they decided to rewrite history. All that reference went away. And then they created a scenario where apparently we always had the state of Palestine and it was Arabs and Muslims. Like, since when? You brought people in from North Africa randomly to that territory while it was under the occupation of the Ottoman Empire and then the Brits. And then suddenly saying, yeah, the Arab Palestinians were always here. Not the one, you're just moving people around. Anyway, so this was the latest update on the situation with the IDF soldiers being arrested. We will keep you guys posted on that when we have more evidence and more, obviously, information on that. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. There's so much to talk about, including the Irish president's anti-Israeli speech, the European Union becoming friends with the Syrian Islamists, obviously, and many other issues as well. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.